Thank you for attending my session today on resource engagements. Now PMs and RMs can be friends. I'm Julie Kohler, a Senior Program Manager at Microsoft, and today I'll be talking about our new feature, resource engagements, and how it'll help your organization. Just a quick thank you to all the sponsors. And starting with a basic definition. So what is a resource engagement? A resource engagement is an agreement or contract between project managers and resource managers for an amount of work and a time period that they can use people for their projects. So that's just the basic definition. And why did we build this feature? So when talking with customers, partners, and MVPs, we got a lot of feedback that the relationship between PMs and RMs was difficult and strained without any formal contract to bind those resources to certain projects for a specific amount of time. Basically, what we were hearing was that a project manager might want a specific resource, and another project manager wanted that same resource because it was their favorite resource or a resource that they liked to use for a specific type of work. They would choose that resource without a real agreement between them and the RM, and then that resource would end up overbooked on several projects. So by adding this new resource management feature, PMs and RMs can agree upon when a resource will work on specific projects, and there's a location that they can go to view and make changes to those requests and agreements. So what can a PM do with this new feature? The PM will manage engagements from Project Pro. So engagements do not impact the project schedule. They will get warning icons if they try to schedule assignments for a resource outside of a valid engagement. They can request generic resources or named resources depending on your permissions. A PM can customize the proposed engagement's time phase contour, and all engagements for a project make up what we now call the resource plan for that project. PMs will be able to edit this new resource plan in Project Pro. PMs and RMs can collaborate by adding comments to an engagement as well. So what can an RM do with a new feature? The RM will manage engagements from Project Online. RMs can review requests for a set of resources across multiple projects. Multiple RMs can review and edit the requests from the same project at the same time. There's no checkout mechanism, so multiple people can be working on this at the same time. RMs can create engagements without receiving a request from a PM first. If the RM thinks of something that the PM forgot or they need to create a new request, they can do this and it will be automatically accepted. RMs can also make edits to the committed time phase contour of a request before approving it. RMs can approve, edit, or decline a request. Not all resources will require engagements. That's actually defined by the RMs or the PMOs, and I will show you that setting a little bit later. So what do I need to get this full feature set? What you will need is Project Pro 2016 or Project Click to Run, plus either Project Online or Project Server 2016 when available. What about my old resource plans? When you activate the feature, we will take your old published resource plans and convert them into engagements. There's a couple of things that are needed here. Not only does it need to be published, but it also has to have time phase data. So if you have a resource plan with several resources and no information beyond that, no time phase data, no requests, then there's nothing for us to migrate because the new engagements are time phase based or time based. Since a new engagement has to go from a specified start date to a finish date, we need to have that information in order to migrate an old resource plan. So this has been a key question we've gotten, and you need to make sure that your old resource plans have that information so that we can migrate them over. There is an FAQ article, and hopefully you can access this deck later to take a look. And now I'm going to move into a demo. The first thing I want to show you is that setting that I talked about that for a resource will require an engagement. So I've checked off Ally here, and let's go ahead and edit Ally to see where that new setting is. So it's a checkbox, and it appears right here under Assignment Attributes called Resource Requires Approval for All Project Assignments. When this box is checked, if a project manager was to assign a task to Ally, that means if she doesn't have an engagement that covers that assignment, they will receive an icon that warns them that they need to have an engagement for that assignment. So I'm going to check that and I'm going to click Save. All right, and now Ally does require engagements. And now I'm going to change hats and I'm going to go to Project Pro. Now I'm the PM, I'm Jean the PM. And Gene is working on a new project, and this project spans November through December. And so he's doing some early planning here. So let's take a look at this new project. The one thing he has not done yet is he has not created his resources, or he has not added his resources to this project. So let's go ahead and add resources. And he knows he's going to need a construction crew member. He needs an accountant. These are the two generics. And he'd like to have Allie and Iris as well. These are two people that he'd like to have on this project. So I'm going to add those resources. Click OK. And let's say Gene isn't very familiar with the resource request feature yet, so he starts to assign some things. And he looks and he says, I think this would be a good task for Allie. Now remember, we checked that box earlier for Allie. Now he sees an icon. What's this? An assignment for this task needs an engagement or is in conflict with an existing one. Right-click for options. Let's take a look and let's fix an engagement inspector. And it says some of the assignments for this task are not fully covered by engagements. So let's view those conflicts. And we see that it's this one for Allie. So we have two options here. We can assign it to a different resource, and maybe there's a resource that does not require engagements, or we can create an engagement for this resource. So for Allie, let's go ahead and create a new request. Let's say we need her for this project. Let's say, okay, give it a description. We know this work is going to run all the way through November and December, so let's just request for both months for now, because one engagement can cover multiple assignments. And we'll say Allie would be a good fit. I'm going to leave that comment. Click OK. All right. And right now I can submit this engagement for review because right now it's in a draft state and we need to submit it so that somebody can try to approve it. So let's submit this. All right, now it's been proposed, and as soon as one of the resource managers accepts this, then we'll be good. But now that I'm aware of this feature as Gene, let's go and let's do more requests. So let's go to the resource plan view. And here's where I can see all of the requests that have been made so far, and I can create some new ones. So I know that I need a construction crew member. So I'm going to create a new request here, new engagement. And let's say basic road work. And I know that I need somebody for the whole time, which is November through December. Okay. I need someone for the basic construction. All right. Now that's still in the draft state because it hasn't been submitted, but I will submit these later. And I know that I need an accountant, but I only need an accountant half-time. So I'll create a request for accounting work. And I need it for the full 2 months, but only half-time. So I'll reduce this to 50%. Need someone for financial work. Oops. All right. That one's also in the draft state. I've already requested Allie. And let's look at Iris. Okay, for Iris, I'd like her for the full 2 months. I'll leave this description blank. You don't always have to have a description. Okay, and I'll leave the comment blank for this as well. All right, now I have 3 in the draft state. What I'd like to do now is submit all of these for the resource manager to look at. So I'm going to say submit all engagements. And now they've all been proposed. So my work here is done as far as making these requests. So now I'm going to switch hats again, and I'm going to go to Resource Center, and now I am Sarah, who is the resource manager. So Sarah comes to the Resource Center, and what she's going to do first is she's going to select all the resources that she manages and she wants to take a look at the requests for. So I've pre-selected all of the resources that Sarah manages, and now I'm going to go to the resource request page. Okay, so now I see that for a previous project, there's a bunch of committed engagements. And I see that for this new project, the 520 Bridge project, there's a few new requests. So in order to make the decision about these requests, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to actually open another tab. And I'm going to look at capacity planning as well. Okay, let's take a look at what these requests were. I see that there's a request for a construction crew member, and I know that this is generic, so I'm going to need to replace this with a specific person. So I see that the request is for the full 2 months, November through December. I'm going to go to capacity planning. I'm going to take a look at this heat map. And this is a new chart that we've added. So I'm going to take a look and see who is available for November and December. Okay, and I see that Christopher seems to be available. So I'm going to give this one to Christopher. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to edit this engagement. You can also do this in line, which I'll show later. Okay, and I'm going to swap this out for Christopher. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and accept this while it's selected, and I've just made that change. And if I want to add a comment, now is the time to add that comment. And I'll say, Christopher was free and should be a good resource. Okay. And now that's been committed. All right, let's look at the other one. There's another generic here. There's accountant. Okay, so I'm going to need an accountant, but it's 50%, and I need this person for the months of November and December. So I'm going to go to capacity planning, and the people that I know that are accountants, I know that a Cody is an accountant, and it looks like he's at about 50%, so he is available. So I'm going to go ahead and give Cody for this one. So accountant, and I'm just going to swap it out in line this time. Since Cody was available at 50%, that looks good. I'm going to accept it. This time I'm not going to leave a comment. This is optional. And now it's been committed. Okay, so I've got 2 of them taken care of. Now let's look at these other ones. Okay, so I see a request for Allie and for Iris. Let's take a look at Allie and Iris and how they are allocated. So I'm looking here, and Iris looks like she's pretty free. There's nothing assigned for Iris, so that one looks good. But for Allie, I see that she looks like she's fully booked through November, so I don't think that one's going to work. Let's go back here. So for Iris, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, that one works. She was free. But for Allie, I'm going to have to swap out somebody else. So let's take a look here. And it looks like Kat is free starting in November, so that one should work. So let's swap out Kat for Allie. Okay, and I'm going to accept this. And there we go. Now all of them have been approved, and I took a look and made swaps when I needed to, but I'm done going through this process. So now, one last thing, I look at this and I realize that for all projects, there is an item that they need to do for cleanup. And it looks like this project manager forgot that. So I'm going to add one more engagement. Okay, so let's see. I noticed when I had looked previously at capacity planning that Byron was free. So this is for the 520 Bridge project. And the description is site cleanup, because every project needs this. And it only needs to happen for the last month of the project. So we will just do this for December. Okay, and I'll say you forgot this work. Accept. And now there's a new engagement for Byron, and it's already been committed because it was created by me as the resource manager. All right, so I'm going to go back to Project Pro, back to Gene. And what he needs to do is just refresh his view to see what happened. So take a look, and right now there were 4 proposed engagements. I'm going to refresh. And now I see some new engagements here. I see these 5 committed, and I see this one for Byron that was added. And I can also take a look at the notes. Oh, I see that I forgot this work. They're correct. And I basically see all of the swaps that were made or the things that were given to me. Okay, so since I'm happy with this, I'm going to go back to that previous view I was in. Let's look at resource usage. Okay, so for water testing, let's go ahead and give this to Christopher. And I see no indicator because he does have an engagement and he's covered for this amount of time. So that's just to show that those indicators will go away. And I need to assign this to somebody other than Allie because she was not approved. So I'll assign it to Kat, who was approved. And now the indicator went away. All right. That's it for the demo portion. Just wanted to share a few helpful links here. So there is the FAQ article, which will help you learn about what happens to your old resource plans and migration and things like that. There's an article about activating the new engagements feature. We have quite a bit of documentation available, and there was a blog post that was done a little while back. So now it's time for questions, and I will go ahead and end this recording. Thank you very much.